So it looks like Beatriz is having connection problems. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay, looks like she wants me to start because she had a problem with her camera or something. So, well, welcome to our last session for today, and thank you very much for your attendance. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Manuela Guilherme from Center of Social Studies from the University of Coimbra. And her presentation is entitled Global Debates, Local Challenges, the South Talks Back. Thank you very much, Manuela, for your presentation. We are looking forward to listening to you.
Okay, thank you very much. May I start, Mario?
Yes, you can start.
Okay, so hello, everybody. This is a big responsibility to make the closure of such a wonderful conference, so well organized. So I thank the IALIC board, and the conference organization for inviting me. It's a great honor, and I see it as a big responsibility. But I will try to do my best. So, as you can see, I like the subtitle very much, and I used it as the title for my talk. And then the South Talks Back. The overview of what I'm going to say, and I will try very hard to leave the participants at least 20 minutes for questions and comments and conversation. As you see, the overview is the same as the abstract I sent, and I will focus on some concepts like global local debates and the South-North epistemological exchanges, all these related to the topic of the moment, which is the sustainability of the planet and of our survival. So my belief is that we need more than ever the intensification of linguistic and intercultural communication. And for that purpose, there are three key concepts: plurilingualism, interculturality, and interepistemic dialogue. I will rely on these concepts, these theories which have been put forward by other scholars, such as critical cultural or intercultural awareness, critical interculturality or the colonial turn, and the epistemologies of the South. And finally, I'm going to share with you a metrics, a system which I've been working on, which I call the Glocademia metrics, composed by 3 axes, which are glocademics, global languages, and intercultural responsibility. And then finally, I intend to focus on what the South has to say. Okay, so this is a quote from Alison Phipps' keynote in 1998. And I was there in a conference in Leeds where the IALIC was conceived and was talked about and idealized. And so Alison Phipps said, knowledge is of course socially and culturally engaged, not merely constructed, critical thought is collaborative in character, and in intercultural studies, we already see the coming together and collaboration of various discursive frames from former homes. Far from dwelling within a built world, to quote him in Goethe, we built within a dwelt-in world. We are engaged in a collective new fashioning, in a collegiate process, not in the simple addition of new skill sets to old ways, as well as moving to other modes of dwelling ourselves. The object of our study in intercultural studies, by that time the conference was languages for cross-cultural capability, is a moving processual one too. If we fail to grasp the fact that we are dealing with interculturality, not an interculturalism, not something fixed, neatly boxed and easily managed, then we will never really be engaged with the object of our study. So this was in Leeds in 1998. It was a local event just like that, or even more local than the one in Bogotá. So this means that more than 20 years afterwards, the IALIC dream is still on and growing. So I hope that the Bogotá event will add, as all the previous ones have, and will inspire the Lisbon Congress and Conference next year. So in Bogotá, from the talks which I attended and from the abstracts, I see that people were talking from these places or about these places. So we have enlarged, IALIC has enlarged the dialogue, expanded the dialogue. And I also collected adjectives, the predominant adjectives in the abstracts and in the talks which I attended. And so I highlighted some of them, and I would like to pick this one, indigenous, among the issues raised. And I'm not going to expand on interculturality, interculturalidad, or interculturalidad in Portuguese. But about the indigenous peoples are generally perceived as some alien beings, that live in the past and that they don't know about what is called the global world is. And we really need to, and I'm speaking in general, to reconceptualize, these concepts. This is from where we are going to progress, as I see it. We are reconceptualizing these words, these concepts that, I took them from the abstracts and from the talks I attended. This is from our work is going to progress. So indigenous have cultures which have evolved. They are in connection with the world. It's interesting because when I went to Brazil for my last project, and I was interested in indigenous languages at universities, in projects with indigenous communities, and people, because I had that label of European, started telling me, you know, in very careful words, explaining to me what indigenous peoples were about. So I then asked them, you know, did you ever live with the indigenous communities? Oh, no. Well, I did. I grew up in Africa. There are indigenous communities. We are all basically indigenous. We are indigenous of somewhere. What we call indigenous were people who were excluded and who were persecuted and who survived and managed to protect only some of their traditions and some of their epistemologies. So I grew up with indigenous communities in Southern Africa as well, and I visited some indigenous communities in Brazil. And I can say that and of course, nowadays it was very different from my childhood in Africa. And, you know, I visited one group who had been expelled from their land, and they were living in tents near the road. And they were showing us the YouTube videos that they had prepared in order to, you know, to make a call about their situation. Okay, so I have here a quote by Gunter Dietz and Laura Silene Mateos Cortes, both from Universidad Veracruzana in Mexico. And they say, in Latin America, finally, intercultural education emerges as a post-indigenismo discourse and as a means of redefining the relationship between post-colonial nation states and indigenous peoples by supplementary or even exclusive indigenous educational programs. So the indigenismo discourse was about, for education, was about assimilationism. And this idea, the same happened with immigrants. I also visited schools with Portuguese immigrants in the United States, and some of them were in very specific classes for retarded children, basically. So this connects with the idea of the myth of linear progress. I'm sorry. This was pointed out among the European Enlightenment ideals by Boaventura de Sousa Santos. You know, throughout his work about post-abyssal thinking and the critique of lazy reason. So this idea of linear progress, thinking that, and that was what explained the idea of underdeveloped, developing, and developed countries. So this was an idea of linear progress. Viveiros de Castro, a Brazilian anthropologist from the University of Rio de Janeiro, he talks about, he has some articles also in English, but this is a book in Portuguese. Cannibal Metaphysics is the title. So he talks about the Amazonian cosmologies and in the plural. So it's not, you know, an hegemonic philosophy. And he talks about the idea of perspectivism, which is a multiple perspective, which is ingrained in the reality, which is also an individual manifestation of bisocial multiplicity. And he proposes the notion of equivocity in order to reconceptualize, with the help of that Amerindian perspectivist anthropology, something which is emblematic of the Euro-academic anthropology comparative studies. And also he summarizes and says something, because another thing is that we talk about the indigenous communities, you know, on the positive way as, you know, the remains of pure life, peace, peaceful way of living, and harmony. Well, it's not all, this is not the absolute truth. So he talks about, he says something which I find very interesting. Ethnocentrism is, as common sense, the thing in the world which is the most shared thing in the world. Okay, so the United Nations has also established the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And, you know, in very general terms, they mean sustainable development, sustainable lifestyles, global citizenship, appreciation of cultural diversity. But what this is all about is what we, from our localities, from our local places, talk back, how we do this. Of course, dominant thinking tries to propose some ideas about what quality education, because it has 17 goals, and this is about the 4th for quality education, and this is the 7th target within the 4th sustainable development goal. Okay, so he talks about the global and the local. What is generally the global and the local is generally used, these words, as if they were two different things, two different scales, but in fact it's not very objective, because look at the areas. Of course, the demography is you know, the other way around, but look at the areas of the European Union and the Amazonian rainforest, for example, or the Mercosur area. Okay, so I've been using the word globalization in order to explore, I think, in a better way, this idea of turbulence of scales, of something which is not separate, where the global is produced by the local, by the various and many locals. The idea of localization was put forward by Robertson in 1995 to replace the term globalization and globality. And also, interesting, I find Boaventura de Sousa Santos, very early on in 1999 or even before, he distinguished 4 forms of production of globalization, and I name here this one, and you know, and I work with 2 of them, which is a local globalism localized, and a localized globalism, and a globalism which is, sorry, a localism which is globalized. A localism which is globalized, for example, the English language is the example he gives. But then this localized globalism that he describes as the specific impact of transnational practices and imperatives on local conditions. But when I use the word local and the concept of local languages, I aim to go beyond the simple impact of the global on the local. and concentrate on the response of localized globalism to globalizing practices and meanings. So how the localisms, the localized globalisms and the localisms build the global. The various globals, and not a globalization as hegemonic. The notion of global languages rests on an understanding of multi-scalar, crisscrossing globalizations and localizations in the plural, but nevertheless historically constituted, economically driven, hierarchically, I'm sorry, I cannot read the rest here, but okay, so the above reconceptualizations will be essential for our survival and the sustainability of the planet. The reconceptualizations of the terms that you have been using during this conference. And in my view, sustainability shall be achieved in great part by the intensification of linguistic and intercultural communication. In my view, the critical discussion of the global-local dialectic imagination is informed by three key concepts, namely plurilingualism, interculturality, and interepistemic dialogue. Okay, so these Glocademia metrics that I developed during the last Glocademics project aims to reach beyond the functionalities of research and education to their civic and pedagogical character. So this is what I'm working now. It's based on three main axes: Glocademics, global languages, and intercultural responsibility. I'm not going to explain each one. I've published and presented in conferences. But what I'm working now is how they build together. So the Glocademia metrics enables a dynamics which encompasses engaging in participatory, collaborative, and transformative academic praxis based on holistic learnings. This is about engagements, acknowledgements of diachronic and synchronic meaning making through languages, and intercultural and intercultures, which has to do with epistemologies. And civic reciprocity, I cannot read here, I'm sorry. This is about commitments. Okay. Generally, I'm asked about what does metrics mean? Why am I using this? So these are several definitions. I like the last one, particularly something shaped like a pattern of lines and spaces, which is not a fixed system, but something which can be and should be developed in different ways according to different localities and purposes and meanings. Well, the backbone of my theory practice on the Glocademia metrics praxis emerged mainly from the following scholarship. And critical pedagogy, Paulo Freire; critical intercultural awareness, Mike Byram; critical interculturality, Catherine Walsh; and epistemologies of the South, Boaventura de Souza Santos. So this is the backbone, but then I use many other authors, as you will see. So why mix research and education? Not only do research and education intersect in academics' regular tasks, but also because both require pedagogical abilities, since both activities aim at practical knowledge creation, the search for meaning under the surface of daily routines, and transformation of living standards for the better, with the aims of social responsibility. That is, both aim at social transformation and cultivate thought complexity reached through criticality and creativity, rather than merely knowledge seeking on the one hand, or knowledge providing on the other hand. So what I mean is a critical pedagogy of knowledge sharing and creation. So now the South talks back. This is how I see it. How can the South talk back? Basically, what I mean by the South, and I agree with Boaventura de Sousa Santos, the South is not only geography, it's also a metaphor. And basically is a metaphor, and I'm going to explain why I am saying that. Being a metaphor does not mean that it's not real, does not mean that it is fiction, or something invented. It means that it's real suffering, real violence, but it's not territorially limited. So as this is how I see it, it has to do with geography and metaphor. It has to do with indigeneity, with criticality, locality, ownership, and responsibility. So what I said before was that we can, in this, in such times of crisis, in such times of change, we need to decoloniality has to do with the reconceptualization of the leading concepts, of the leading ideas. Try to reconceptualize them. And these are the main ones. To reconceptualize what North and South means, what geography and metaphor means, indigeneity, criticality, locality, ownership, and responsibility. And from now on, I'm going to present the quotes of thinkers from the South. Some of them are in the North, and some I'm not mentioning, but there are some like Grossfogel, Mignolo, who come from the South, but are in the North. But indeed, in the North, they are the South. They represent the South. This is how I consider myself. When I came from Mozambique to Lisbon, and still now, I'm the South disguised because I'm white. Sometimes it's also difficult. It's not sometimes, because, and I have some friends telling me, I say, I don't think that way, but I grew up, I'm a foreigner here. And they said, oh yes, I forget. But in fact, sometimes, you look strange. Okay, so the South talks back. The global South and the global North are simply visualized as two separate hemispheres. But there is the North of the South and the South of the North, which are physically much closer to each other than the northern geographies of the North to the southern ones of the South. And Esterman is Swiss of origin, but he has, I met him in Bolivia. He does a lot of work in Bolivia. He has a book in Spanish. The translation my translation in English of the title is "What if the South were the North?" It's a convention. The global South and the global North are symbolically and metaphorically used to refer to such dichotomies as colonized, colonizer, poor, rich, learner, teacher. You know, it's not only at school, you know, it's everywhere. Some are supposed to teach and some are supposed to learn. I wrote this in a journal in response to a critique by a professor about, you know, something I had written. So some are supposed to teach and some are supposed to learn. Some are powerful, knowledge versus science, poverty versus wealth. And nowadays we can say illness versus health. Okay, since a metaphor can be defined as a figure of speech in which a word or a phrase literally denoting one kind of object or idea, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read, but I can't. Then it is the case that the geographical sites, and this is another aspect, geographical sites do not cease to function as reference points even when the subjects are deterritorialized. So there is the south in the north, and there is the north in the south. Look at your societies in the geographical south, and you can see, you go to São Paulo, for example, in Brazil, and you know, in some areas, in some quarters, that is the north. And in some ideas, in some ways of life. And the same in Europe or in the United States. That is, you know, the South remains inscribed. You read the rest because I cannot. And as Mignolo says, it is the baggage that we carry, whether we are in the north or in the south. Okay, Silvia Rivera Cusicanqui from Bolivia. She says, further in this society, the Indians would expand, this is what she thinks should be, would expand and adopt their culturally patterned ideas of democratic coexistence and good government, and admit new forms of community and mixed identities. Or she, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, and thus enter into a creative dialogue in the process of exchanging knowledges, aesthetics, and ethics. And Boaventura de Sousa Santos says he has two books which are less well known, but which I like a lot, is Refundación del Estado en América Latina y Conocer desde el Sur. Por eso, I'm sorry for my portuñol, por eso, en mi opinión, no necesitamos alternativas, sino un pensamiento alternativo de alternativas. That is the reconceptualization of the words. And what about being critical? Being critical is vague. Is it critical pedagogy according to Paulo Freire? Is it according to the Frankfurt School? Walsh highlights the importance of other critical modes of knowledge that enable critical theorizations from difference, opening up new analytic, critical, post-transcontinental, and decolonial possibilities of knowledge and existence. And then she says, what might it mean to think critical theory from other places? Not simply from the West and from modernity, but from what has occurred in its margins or borders, and with the need to shed light on its underside, that is on coloniality. I'm not going to read the rest. Boaventura also is concerned about that. And Walsh, in her last book with Mignolo on decoloniality, she talks about critical interculturality from a decolonial perspective. Well, I would like now, so what is the challenge to the South according to the ones in the geographical South? This is a report of the South Commission, which was presided by President Julius Nyerere by Tanzania. This was a response of a meeting of countries from the North who were meeting in Berlin in order to figure out how we, the developed countries, can help you, the underdeveloped countries. So there was this South Commission to say, you know, we know what we want. And it's the same with the indigenous communities and education. Generally, it's the central government who says what they think they want. You know, let them speak, let them, and they won't have a consensual agreement. They have different opinions as well, but let them speak and you know, and choose. So the challenge to the South, they said, this was composed by many presidents of many countries in Africa. The purpose of this report is to contribute to the success of this endeavor so that the countries of the South may determine their own destinies while playing full in humanity's development and in enhancing the security of its common heritage in the planet Earth. The South vision must also embrace a notion of what development ultimately signifies. And that is a responsibility. And that is ownership, another keyword, as I mentioned. The responsibility for the South's development lies in the South. Sustained development cannot simply be imported. This is very important. It is time to take responsibility, to take ownership, and not, you know, expect others to tell what they should do. And of course, now Colombia. On January the 4th, 2001, in Bogotá, the authors Orlando Fassborder and Luis Mora Osejo issued a self-described manifesto to Colombian scholars, inviting them to rescue local values of self-esteem and creativity and to resist intellectual colonialism. Eyebrows were raised not only because this is an interdisciplinary document signed by a biologist and by a sociologist. And with such objectives in mind, we can stimulate combined research and teaching. So research and education, as I mentioned. Attitudes and practices within and outside educational institutions which are able to overcome discriminatory distinctions, such as those between the academic and the popular, the scientific and the political, and to stimulate self-esteem among our peoples and in our academic communities. This is indispensable for satisfactory living in countries as privileged as Colombia. And Latin America university life has been officially based on a tripod. So this is not a new idea in Latin America. Based on a tripod framework with teaching, research, and outreach. In Brazil, it's called extensão. And it was questioned by Paulo Freire, who didn't agree with extensão, but communication between, you know, university and communities as three equally important pillars since the beginning of last century. This model was originated in a 1918 Cordova movement in Argentina, when the students claimed against Eurocentric model of the Latin American university model and required that it set its roots in their social context. Popular universities and intercultural universities, those dedicated to indigenous communities in Latin America, represent the essence of extension communication activities. So I invite you to have a look at these two special issues, which where I worked with my colleague Gunther Dietz from the University of Veracruzana and Ángela Santa Maria from Colombia. Okay, and so this is finished, and what I would like to tell you is that I did not bring out these quotes, these authors, just because the conference is in Colombia. You can have a look in my last publications. The one in the middle by Prue Holmes and John Corbett, I was very honored. I am very honored to be part of it, where I applied the Glocademia metrics in another project of the Prue's coordination, and work in progress. So there is these are 3 Routledge books, and one is published, the one is in production, will be out soon, and the last one is submitted. So, and where I use these kind of references and these bibliography. Thank you.
Thank you, Manuela. Thank you. It's been such a great presentation, invited us to reflect on the topic. And I am so happy to well, first of all, my apologies, because when I was going to present your lecture, my internet just failed. So my apologies. I wrote, even when
no, it's
even
it's
when,
okay. I'm just trying to.
I just copy pasted the bio in the chat so everyone can read that. You don't need a presentation because we are all aware of your work and strong contributions to the field. However, I just copy pasted the chat. Thank you. And I want to say thank you again, because Manuela, you accepted our invitation to IALIC 2021, even when we had to wait for a year and postpone the meeting. So thank you for staying on board, and we are really honored to have you here today.
I could accept because I have survived up until now.
Great. And, I am so happy that, your lecture just like matched pretty well what was being discussed in yesterday's research forum. And it just came up with some shedding light some more on these issues that really concern all of us. So thank you very much. And I am pretty sure that we might have some questions
thank you very much. I thank you.
So do we have questions for Manuela? Jose Aldemar? Thank you, says Jose Aldemar. Thank you, Manuela. Impressive work and contribution to expanding our understanding of interculturality and decolonial theory practice. That's Jose Aldemar's comment.
I'm very happy. I loved Jose presentation as well. So thank you very much.
Yeah, Jose Aldemar's presentation, in fact, is a way of the South talks back. Absolutely. So I think it's also interesting. Do we have some questions for Manuela?
I hope so.
Ayman, please go ahead. Ayman, go ahead, please.
Hello, thank you very much, Manuela. This is very informative lecture. And I just want to have some comments, if you like, about this, and I will take the chance to say something about the conference theme, if it's possible, which I think that both things are related. I wonder about this idea of interdisciplinarity in our research, what have been doing, and I have scanned and listened to some of the nice representations there. However, I'd like to say something about another field, if you like, which is Zygmunt Bauman's liquid modernity, and how such a perspective coming from sociology and even cultural studies could contribute to the area of interculturality. We know that Zygmunt Bauman is a very established scholar in this field, and in just, if you may, I can just scan some of his ideas about, liquid modernity, which is...
I am acquainted, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm not in a position of tautology, lakin the idea, which I mean, is that I hardly find Bauman's ideas in research coming into the idea of, this kind of intercultural exchange, let's say, intercultural communication between, these kind of local and global, whether the South speaks to the North or the East speaks to the West, or all of these, ideas, simply because I do believe in this perspective, and I have done lots of arguments through published research papers about his ideas. So if you just allow me, I always talk about it is the shift from holistic, solid, unified, entities, modernities, to temporarily vulnerable, sometimes inclination to constant change. And it is always an idea of becoming, and an idea of post something. Okay, so change is permanent for him, and being always at any stage and all times is post something. So I would say that this would help us researchers and intellectuals to broaden our thinking of those ideas. Thank you very much for having the patience to take my comment.
Thank you very much, Ayman. That's very interesting. We could bring in many scholars talking about, contemporary times, and which are very helpful. And Zygmunt Bauman is one of them. But there is no, we need all of them. With regard to intercultural exchange, as you mentioned, as I see it, it's one perspective. It's one perspective. It's not the only one. It has influenced, I think, our intercultural studies with regard to, the translanguaging and trans everything,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And in fact, I didn't have time, and I didn't want to repeat myself from other conferences to discuss differences between multilingualism and plurilingualism and intercultural, transcultural, multicultural. But I don't think they are mutually exclusive. Okay, they provide different aspects, and which add to a holistic perspective of something which is very dynamic. And Zygmunt Bauman catches that, but and catches that aspect of a liquid modernity, but not everything is liquid. We have some ground too.
Okay, so thank you. Do we have another question for Manuela today? Any other comments? I would like to ask Mario.
May
Okay,
I
we
say
have two
something,
hands.
Mario? Okay. Yeah.
Mario, yes, Mario.
Yes, Manuela. Well, once again, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. It's great to have you in the first IALIC conference held in Latin America, right? So anyway, well, as a language teacher, I was very interested in your talk, especially the differences between the North and the South. And I just have a question regarding, like, in your opinion, how can this, or being aware of these differences, inform language teacher education programs, especially, the young generations preparing to become language teachers in the future?
Thank you, Mario. That's very relevant and very important. I was a language teacher myself at high school, and then did more of teacher development programs at university and teacher training centers. And so I worked a lot on that. That is very important, how to translate all these into the language and culture classroom. I usually discuss this with teachers, and because there have been different types of programs, always changing, and teachers, and this is liquid modernity, and teachers have a difficult time, with people coming with ideas, but they don't know, most of them don't know what it is being in a school, with teenagers or children, and having to deal with this. And I'm not saying that it is painful. It is, for me, it was very rewarding, I was very passionate at what I was doing. And that's why, at certain age, I needed to do something else, because I was very passionate about it. It was very exciting. But in fact, we have to translate. And what I used to tell the teachers and discuss with them, it's not adding. The problem is, it seems that the ideas add to the previous ones. Okay, you have to do this and more, and you add more and you add more. No, you have to change. That's why you have to change basically the concepts, the ideas about, there is no, there is no problem with the students once you can catch their attention. And I taught, in public schools in other times. Now it's much more difficult. But I had students from Manualite background, and I had students from, very low economic profile, and they were all wonderful. But it takes a lot out of us too. And, very interesting, the presentation yesterday of Claire Crumsh about these, political issues. And it's very important to discuss this with the teachers, because the students help us. And, with what I say, I'm trying to translate this to teacher development programs and researcher development programs, because, no one talks about researcher development programs. And what it means is we teachers need to, at any level, need to reconceptualize our ideas and our terms, because, times change fast. And our students demand that from us.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Manuela.
Manuela, I think that Manuela Wagner has another question for you. Manuela, please go ahead. Manuela?
Manuela to Manuela. Hello, Manuela. Some problem?
Okay, so wait for us a second, please.
Yeah, another.
Andrea?
Oh, she says the host is not allowing my microphone. The host.
Andrea? Alex?
Okay, now it works actually. Thank you so much. This is Manuela. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Manuela, hello.
Thank you. Hello, Manuela. Thank you so much for this wonderful and thought-provoking presentation, as all your work. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. My question is actually a follow-up question to Mario's question. So I'm asking about teacher researchers, right? So in a graduate program, teachers who are taking graduate courses, trying to learn more about intercultural education, and then decolonial thought, anti-racist pedagogy, critical pedagogy, and so on, right? And the deeper they go into the issue, the more confused they get, which is not necessarily bad, we know. But my question for you is, how, what do we tell them when they become scared of putting theory into practice because there might be inconsistencies, there might be things that even contradict themselves, right? If they want to apply different pedagogies that have much in common, but might have some contradictions. Does that question make sense?
It does, Manuela. Yeah, of course, it does. You know, I did a lot of teacher development, and lately, teacher development, at least in Portugal, for a few years now, you know, for some years has come in as master's course. So it generates research. You know, what I say is maybe it's naive, I don't know, but I'm not generally concerned and try to make them not concerned about applying theory in their practice. In my view, theory, and you know, I didn't come from theory to practice. I came from practice as a, you know, an experienced high school teacher and then teacher developer to theory. I started my master's 20 years after I started teaching. So what I felt and what I tried to, you know, to discuss, to share with my colleague teachers was that you don't apply theory to practice. You change with theory. And then practice comes different naturally. You know, that's you know, what I say is that enjoy the theory, think about it. And then you will change from, then you go to the classroom and you won't be able to do, you know, the same things in the same way. You will do the same routine, but you do this in a different way. That's how it happened to me. Theory makes you change. You don't, you know, now I have, you know, according to Freire, according to Mike Byram, so this is kind of recipes that you have to change. According, you know, one class is different from the other one. One student is different from the other one. So you have to change inside you as a teacher.
Thank you very much, Manuela. I have a question myself, but I wanted to know if you have any other questions right now for Manuela. Okay, so I think that maybe I can go ahead with my own question. Thank you, Manuela. I want to build a little bit on Mario's and Manuela's issues with teaching languages. I was wondering about how can the Gloccademia matrix contribute to foreign language teacher education, for example? Because, you know, when teachers read some theory, sometimes they ask you in a very colloquial way, okay, this sounds nice, but how can I apply it to my classroom? ¿Cómo se ve esto en el salón de clases? ¿Yo qué hago con esta teoría? How do you see this in the classroom? What can I do with this? So what would you advise, you know, to make a smooth transition between the theory from the Gloccademia matrix into practice? Thank you.
I think first, you should not forget that you are a language and culture teacher and intercultural. Second, the first thing that comes is not the Gloccademia matrix, is your student. His or her needs, okay? And how does the Gloccademia matrix respond to that student? To, you know, it won't respond to them all in the same way. The way I see it, and this, you know, about local languages, I'm not putting forward linguistic theory, as I say. I don't even dare doing that. That we have linguistic theories, and if we study social linguistics, we have much support for the development of and decolonial social linguistics. We have many responses for local languages. So the Gloccademia matrix, as I see it, brings you a different identity of the teacher, of the academic, of the community researcher, open to the world, open to society, open to a society that is not only local, but it's not a mirror to the global. And intercultural responsibility brings something beyond intercultural, the functionality of intercultural competence. So this brings a decolonial critical, a different type of critical approach to what we have been doing. And we are language teachers. We need, the students need to learn grammar and need to learn vocabulary. I never stopped. You know, what I'm writing now is what I did when back, you know, when I was teaching English basically and Portuguese and some German. That is what I did, you know. Sometimes the students are speaking the language and they feel the need to you know, to communicate that they need some basic skills and grammar and vocabulary. But the way, you know, you put it is different.
Thank you, Manuela. Thank you for the recommendations and for the reflection around this. I think that we have time for one more question. And Denise, please.
There is one in the chat. Ayman. Okay. So Denise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Manuela. Once again, it's a pleasure to
Hello.
listen to you. It was a great talk, very inspiring. And according to what the other
You are all very kind. Thank you very much.
So what I'm also following what Beatriz and Mario and Manuela were telling and trying to see about this putting theory into practice and how theory sometimes doesn't really match practice. And I just want to share maybe my idea, if I may. And it's that I see that intercultural education is still following this positivistic idea of cause and effect that has been modeling our education system, right? Seeing intercultural education as a competence, like what do we need to learn, what students are supposed to know, what abilities they are supposed to develop, and then how do I like foster this in on our students. And yesterday I really appreciated and I really liked Claire Cramp's talk about how to actively engage students, but I still saw that it was mostly the teacher who decided on the topic, the teacher who decided how to encourage this in learners. And I was wondering, okay, how to decolonize this teaching, how to the responsibility is not on the teacher to go and foster interculturality, but also to see, as you said, the needs from the students. So how to imagine another pedagogy that is more, and something that I really liked about your presentation, the idea of the adjective emergent, like something that really emerges from the students or from the people, from the local realities, and not only following certain researchers' agendas or even teachers' agendas. That is, I want my students to be interculturally competent, but what does it mean? And how do I foster and how do I make them more citizens of the world or competent citizens? It is our agenda. But first, like how to bridge the theory into practice, as you said, first, go and see the local realities and how it can emerge from the students. And from that, maybe the idea of decolonizing the whole, not only interculturality, but the whole maybe institution or educational processes, that is that we are mostly colonized by language. We need to teach subjunctive. We need to teach this and that because this framework says that in B1 or B2, we need to know that. But what about the students? What language they need to maybe express what they want to express, right? So maybe another perspective of pedagogy from emergent ideas like inquiry-based pedagogy or problem solving or these kinds of things, like we can think of another way. Well, that's my thoughts about this, because we are too much into how to bring, and me myself, how to all these things that you read that are very interesting, and how do I deal with that? I want my classroom to be like that, but how do I do that?
Thank you very much, Denise. I see that Beatrice is worried with the time, and thank you very much. Denise, you have a very important role to play because you are dealing with teacher development in informal education. That is very important. I agree with what you said. I can say that when I was teaching 30 or 40 years ago with the high school, I always followed the programs, and I always started the first day by asking, talking to the students, asking about their interests and about what they would like to learn, how they would like to learn. And you know, this is political. We are always political. You don't decide, okay, am I going to be political or not? Your role is political. And students in the high student schools at that time, they were not used at that. And, you know, one of them told me, wow, you ask odd questions, you know, you are asking me what to do. And then another one in the end, when I always ask my students to evaluate the classes, either orally or written anonymous. And that's, you know, where I learned. And one said, you know, in the beginning of the school year, you were always asking, what do you think? What do you want? I thought, wow, she is very insecure. But then I understood, you know, he said. So I agree with you. We have our programs, we know what to teach, but we can do it in different ways. And basically, we have to respond our students' interests and needs.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you, Manuela, again. We are looking forward to your next lectures about the topic. I think that we are very interested. Thank you for joining us in IALIC 2021. Okay, so I think that we got to the end of our lecture. And now I'm going to pass the torch to Mario, to Prue Holmes and Christina, who are in charge of the last words for IALIC 2021. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, first of all, on behalf of Universidad de los Andes and the Department of Languages and Culture, we would like to thank all of our presenters and attendees, of course. Your active participation and valuable contributions truly enhance the quality of the IALIC 2021 conference. So a big thanks for you guys. We would also like to thank our wonderful chairs who did an excellent job, and of course, all of the members of the support and logistics team. Without your help and experience, this online conference wouldn't have been possible. So many, many thanks to you all. Many, many thanks to John Corbett and Prue Holmes, too, for trusting us to organize the 2021 conference, which was originally planned for 2020. But the pandemic changed our plans, and we definitely needed that extra year for this. Our special thanks to the IALIC board, who opened the doors to us and allowed us to organize the 2021 conference. Getting to know more about the work conducted by the International Association for Languages and Intercultural Communication, IALIC, has been a great experience. On behalf of the Department of Languages and Culture, and why not the entire language and intercultural communication community in Colombia, I can say that we'll be open to collaborate with you and the whole international academic community. So after thanking you for all of your support, participation, and commitment, let's move on to a few announcements, right? So please don't forget that you can send your papers for consideration in the Language and Intercultural Communication Journal until March 14, 2022, right? So please mark your calendars, March 14, 2022. This is the deadline to send your contributions for consideration to the journal. We should be sending you more detailed directions about the publication process soon. What else? Well, certificates. Oh my God, certificates. That's really important. Those will be sent to you as soon as possible. Please keep in mind that we have to produce an important number of certificates. So this may take us a while, but again, we'll do our best to speed up the process. Also, the recordings of the sessions will be published sometime before December 16th on the IALIC webpage. So please make sure you start visiting the webpage by the first or second week of December. We know you guys are looking forward to watching some of the presentations that you could not attend because of the time difference or any other reason. So once again, just to conclude, a big thanks to you all. Without your active participation, valuable contributions, commitment, and support, this conference wouldn't have been a success. So thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Prue. Prue, thank you.
Oh, Mario, that's a hard act to follow. You've I don't even know where to start. I've got some notes here, but I just think that we've been so lucky with this conference. It's just been a wonderful experience, even though it's been online, and we're sorry that we haven't been able to come. You and Beatrice and John and all your team have done a magnificent job in getting this all together and enabling us to join in a very spontaneous manner online, which is very difficult. It's been a fantastic experience. And I think for IALIC, on behalf of all the committee members and all the members of IALIC, we're really grateful for all the work that you've done to make it happen. I'm pleased to see Beatrice smiling. I think she's probably exhausted after this week. She's kept us going all week. And you've done a magnificent job, Beatrice, in sending emails early in the morning and making sure that we're all enthusiastic and engaged. So a really wonderful thing. And I think what's been really special about this conference is it's our first time in Latin America, and we've learned so much from all of you, from the presentations and the engagement of all the participants and the enthusiasm. So again, a really huge thank you to Beatrice and Mario and John and the team, to Tatiana for believing in us too, and Los Andes for providing the magnificent platform. And of course, the keynotes have to be thanked too, because they've been magnificent in helping to stimulate the ideas. Manuela, your talk just now was really wonderful. And it was good to see it coming back into the education forum too. What do we do in the classroom in practice? Really interesting ideas around how theory can inspire. So magnificent keynotes from Jose Aldemar, Anne-Marie Truscott, and Claire Cramch and Manuela. Thank you very much. We want to acknowledge the work that you've done, and we hope to be able to send you some vouchers, some book vouchers. We're still trying to figure this out. You wouldn't believe how difficult this is, but we hope that we'll be able to do that sometime soon, just to say thank you very much indeed for all the work that you've done, the team, and also the keynotes. And I think above all, it's really helped IALIC to think about the South answering back, the local and the global. And we've seen some really interesting themes emerging from the really well-selected conference title on global debates and local challenges. And we've seen interesting work around decoloniality, epistemologies of the South, Indigenous experiences and perspectives, critical interculturality, grounded though in local experiences. So thanks to all of those local people who joined in to the conference and brought a new perspective to the conference and to the idea of interculturality. And thinking about Amartya Sen's ideas about improving people's lives and communities so that they can live a life worth being. And I think that a lot of the work that we've seen has really prompted us to think about our own work as intercultural educators and teachers and researchers. So that's all from me, just to say a really big thank you again. And I'm going to pass now the word to Christina. And Christina is going to be our incoming chair because I'm stepping down. So I'm really grateful that Christina is going to take the role on. And she's going to introduce to you our next conference.
Hi, thank you very much, Prue. Thank you all for making this amazing conference happen. I really enjoyed my my time listening to all the talks, to all the keynotes. It's been a wonderful experience, and I'm very grateful for inviting me here, and of course for giving me this great honor and responsibility to take over the chair of IALIC. And of course, like Prue says, to you in terms of the conference, it's also going to be a very difficult act to follow, to step into Prue's shoes, but of course it's a very exciting prospect, and I'll try my best. And I've got a little presentation I want to share with you, so I'm just going to share my screen now. Just to kind of thank Prue's legacy as chair of IALIC and her cultural activism. I'm just gonna do it from beginning. Yes, that's it. So I'll give you a few concluding thanks and thoughts. As Prue has reminded us, she's been at the helm for 11 years, doing constant intercultural activism. And Prue is one of the most brilliant critical interculturalists I've known. And whilst chair of IALIC, she has achieved a great deal. She has been championing and facilitating the researching of multilingual, of interculturality multilingually. Hold on, sorry. And facilitating discussions. She's promoted the theory and practice that addresses social injustice and social exclusion. She's been observing and theorizing the living realities and experiences of mobility and immobility, a very current topic at the moment. And she has done it all with authenticity, commitment, and generosity. So this is going to be a very hard act to follow. Also, to make a little comment on this conference that I think that is a bit of a conference of the possible, an idea that I've taken from Claire Crams's presentation when she called the language teaching profession the art of possibility. I believe that Bogotá 2021 has made possible a large participation from Latin America. It has been the biggest ever IALIC conference, I believe. It has organized the first full-sized conference online. It has made a reality the globalization with roots and wings, as Dennis, Claudia, and Ramsey talked about in the research forum, and has opened up the meaning of languages and cultures as not only ways of thinking and knowing, but also as ways of being. And I would like to share with you a few nuggets of wisdom that I've collected from the conference as I went to the different talks. And I won't go on for very long. I collect quite a few, but I think I'll just share this first slide because I want to introduce the conference to Lisbon. But here are a few little gems I thought from the different presenters, starting with Jose Aldemar Valencia, who said that language is not only to communicate, but also palabrear, to listen, to connect to nature, to our ancestors. And then he also said that language is the last bastion of resistance, like a refuge and a weapon against colonization and subjugation. Then Vivian Zhu talked about how we need to see the holistic side of language and interculturality and its spirituality. We also had these very interesting thoughts from Dominic Bush and Emilian Franco about what happens when we avoid interpretations. And the last one as well from Bush and Franco. Can we go to a pre-colonial level if we go to a pre-linguistic level? And I'll leave these other nuggets of wisdom for another time, because I think we're gonna be a bit overloaded otherwise. And before I move on to my presentation of Lisbon that Anna Pino has prepared for us, I would like to hand over to Malcolm MacDonald, who has prepared another few words of thanks to Prue. Malcolm, would you like to go now?
Hi, Prue, and hello, everyone. Prue might be surprised to hear from me with another word of thanks for your achievements during your time at IALIC. And of course, this time we all hope and assume is not fully over. It is just that you're stepping aside to speak as chair. But my thanks was a bit foreshortened at the AGM this morning. So Christina suggested I just fill in some of the gaps now, because I've been there working alongside you really for 20 years. I think since I first went to your first presentation, I think it was in the year 2000 when IALIC was founded, and you've been over the next decade, you faithfully flew back like the migrating birds from the University of Waikato, New Zealand, a very long flight to join us in Leeds, and then as IALIC moved out across Europe. But it was not until you took over as chair in 2010 that we actually started moving beyond Europe. And you oversaw the organization of conferences and symposia in Malaysia, ran your own conference at Durham. Then you oversaw the conference which was run in Hong Kong in 2013. And again, going to China in 2015. And finally, if you like, with no dinting of your energy and commitment and vision, we get here finally to Colombia with great relief, great enjoyment, and great intellectual relish. During this period, you've also led a number of the foundational research projects, which have contributed hugely, as Christina said, to development of critical pedagogy and interculturality. I'll just mention a couple of these: the IRS project, Intercultural Education Resources for Erasmus Students, researching multilingually at the borders of language. And now I believe you're engaged with the Rich Ed project, developing resources for interculturality in Chinese higher education. During all of this, you've overseen the business side, and I was going to expand more on this at the AGM, the financial side of the association, so that the association itself has become very much more securely grounded, and the balance of the association, which matters, has increased fourfold since you took over as chair. So I think on behalf of all the attendees here, I just want to propose a final monstrous vote of thanks for all your commitment to the association and to the conferences over the years. And for sure, we would not have made it here without you. So thanks very much, Prue.
Well, Malcolm, if I could please just say a word of reply without taking up too much time. That is really very kind of you to say all of that. It's really moving, and thank you very much indeed. It's been a great honor and privilege. And I'd have to say that when I first came to IALIC, I did find a home from New Zealand, and it was one of the reasons that made me come to the UK in 2010. Because I really felt that the scholarship and research that was going on in this organization was very much at the heart of what I was interested in. And I think I've found it really a wonderful place to develop. And so for all of you who are here and perhaps haven't had the experience of IALIC before, I really encourage you to continue to engage and to benefit from the nurturing and caring environment that really helps to build scholars and to build researchers to become good intercultural and language teachers, scholars, and educators. So thank you again, Malcolm, and thank you to the committee and all of you who have made my experience with IALIC so positive. Thank you very much indeed. They're really nice words. I think I can hear the clapping.
You'll be sticking around though, Prue.
Well, I hope so. Certainly.
Christina, I think that your microphone is off.
Mute. Is it on now?
Yes, it's on.
Sorry, I think I'm gonna start again because I'm trying to play this video.
should we play it for you?
Yeah, could you do that? Because I've started and then I stopped it and now I can't restart it again. If you could play it for me, that'd be great. So I'll stop share.
Andrea, ¿estás allí?
Y
profe, ¿quería proyectarlo?
Sí,
Sí,
podemos proyectarlo. Gracias. No lo vemos aún.
Otherwise, I can start it again. Shall I start it again?
No
Oh, here
escuchamos.
it comes. Oh. Sorry, no, it's not this one. Sorry, can we stop it?
Páralo un segundo, Andrea, por favor.
Thank you. No, it's. I'll just try to share it myself because it's full screen. Share screen.
Maybe you could send us the link by through the chat and we can play it for you.
Okay. You didn't see it there, no?
We played the link. No, we didn't see it. We played the
Okay.
link you sent to us.
All right.
Is it a
I'll send it to
file?
you then.
Yeah.
It's the PPT that I sent you on email this morning. You don't have it there. Hold on.
Do you have it? Oh, to the IALIC account, Cristina?
I sent it to Beatrice this morning.
Okay.
Hold on.
I've got it. Just let me, but that's the link. Okay, so let me just send it to, give us a second. Wouldn't take long. Andrea,
Dime, profe.
lo tienes en el correo en este momento.
Dale.
Es que ella mandó una presentación y un vínculo y yo te pasé solo el vínculo.
Ah, ok, profe, ya lo ponemos.
Gracias, Beatriz.
Con gusto.
Cristina, you should stop sharing your
Okay,
screen.
yes, stop sharing.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Estoy esperando que llegue el correo, ya les confirmo.
Mario, a Andrea no le llega el correo, te lo acabo de mandar a ti. ¿Quieres ver?
Sí, vale. Ya.
In the mean,
Entonces, sería, Cristina, would it be a PowerPoint presentation?
yeah, yes, that's right.
I'm downloading the presentation onto my computer.
In the meantime, I'm sharing the poster that Ana Pino sent us, which tells you the dates of the conference that's gonna happen in from the 7th to the 9th of September in Lisbon. And you've got the provisional title as well. Diversity and epistemological plurality, thinking interculturality otherwise.
You're planning the conference to be face-to-face, right?
So far, so good. Yes, let's see what happens, but that's the original plan.
Okay.
¿Lo tienes?
Got it.
See. Yes, it's a PowerPoint presentation with like voice, right? It's like
With audio.
with audio.
Mhm.
I do have it here and it disappeared.
The audio has disappeared.
Yes, I had it and it disappeared. Like I downloaded the presentation and it played automatically. And when I went back to the meeting to share it, it just I don't know, the format that is different.
Yeah. Can I try from my computer again? See whether it works?
Sure.
Because it worked before, not on the platform, but let's see. Okay, and then I quickly go and share it. Let's see. No, the audio doesn't seem to come.
Want me to try one more time? Because
I'm just thinking, Mario and Christina, maybe we could put it on the website and people could go to the IALIC website and see the presentation there. Because I think Ana Pino prepared it especially, didn't she? So
yes,
that might
yes.
be a way forward.
Yes, that's a good idea. And maybe now instead we can play that video that you were going to play, Beatrice, the one which is a link, and that seemed to work.
Andrea? Andrea?
Andrea. Oh, Beatriz, did you send me the email with the link? I can.
Andrea, el de YouTube. Están pidiendo el de YouTube, ahora sí.
Sí, adelante. Podemos ver el de... Jamie, ¿estás allí? ¿Podemos ver el de YouTube? El primero que cortamos.
Can you see it now?
Now.
Sí, de acuerdo.
This is just a promotional video of the city.
No escuchamos, Jay.
Do you want me to describe it?
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
Jamie, ¿podemos ponerle sonido?
Esa es la pantalla del profe Mario.
Ah, Mario. Compartir sonido.
This is the Tower of Belém. Okay, come and sit in place.
Yeah. I think what you said, Prue, is a good idea to put it up on the website and then people can watch it. But at least now we know we have the information. It's going to happen in September 2022, and it's going to happen in Lisbon in the Faculty of Education, hosted by Ana Pino and her team. And in the presentation, in the PowerPoint presentation that you will see on the website when we put it up, and there's a picture of all the team that has been involved in preparing the conference. And of course, it's just early stages yet, and we're going to have the announcement of the keynote speakers soon and the announcement for the abstracts after Christmas. So look for those announcements on the conference website, and yes, you'll find out about it. Oh, we can hear that now.
It looks amazing.
Yeah.
That was the monument to the discoveries, which is very controversial nowadays. That was Sintra in the outskirts of Lisbon. This is the castle. This is the outskirts of, this is Cascais, I think. Oh, this is the bullfight arena. Okay, visit Portugal.
Yes, I want to go there.
Okay.
Sure.
We're all in agreement. We want to go there. Let's hope COVID lets us. Such a shame we couldn't come to Colombia.
Well, at this time, maybe for the next time.
You never know. Yes, there's always an opportunity. Okay, well, that's all from me. And I'm so sorry that I couldn't give you the whole
because we couldn't
presentation.
help you more with the video. I apologize for that.
No, nobody's fault. It's just the technology let us down.
Okay,
that's,
so
I think that
Prue, do you have Christina? Do you want to say something else?
No, that's all from me, and I'm very, very grateful that we've had this amazing conference, that everything's worked seamlessly, and I've really enjoyed myself thoroughly, and I'm really hope that everybody's going to come to Lisbon and we can have another fantastic discussion on interculturality. Thank you very much to everybody, and I'll wait for you in Lisbon next year.
Thank you very much. Prue, do you want to say something else? Well, we thank you all again. We're very happy. Thank you all. And we'll try to keep in touch. Malcolm, thank you to you too. We'll continue to talk and discuss about live issues. And Prue, thank you for introducing us to IALIC.
Thank you, Beatrice. Thank you, Mario.
Thank
See
you very much.
Lisbon.
See you in Lisbon.
Bye-bye,
Have a good one.
Goodbye.
Bye.
See you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Hello, Jose.